live, Pastor.
All right. Come on. Just a little bit. You got to give us just a
here.
little bit. You just got to give us just a little bit. Just a little bit. All right. This hot beat that's going on the track right now. Once again, man, I always love to get a shout out to my son, Dorian Davis, Jackpot Production, for this hot beat right here. And, you know, when you come into the 11th hour, you're supposed to move just a little bit. But, you know, some people, you know, get a little bit shy when that music get on, but that's okay. That's okay. Hey, listen, y'all, it's your boy, Pastor Mike. Welcome to the 11th hour, where we love to talk about our youth, family, and community. And today, I am super excited because we have an awesome, tremendous guest in the house today. And we're going to be focused on our youth and our families and how we can really connect with them. And so what a better way to start out with a beautiful guest here in the house today. So I'm going to let her introduce herself.
I am Theowauna Hatchett, and I'm the principal of LaVergne High School.
Principal of LaVergne High School. We need to just pray for her because she's just a principal, period. Like because we know in these trying times, it's tough. So she deals with our youth on a daily basis, daily basis. And also not just our youth, but their families too. So I can't wait to hear about how she's connected with families. And, you know, because if you deal with mamas like my mama, like when my mama used to come to school, it was not pretty. You know,
It's usually good for me, actually.
That's good for you. Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. If a parent is involved, that means you're going to get some work done. But man, my mom used to come to high school, man. And you know, most of the time when she's coming, it ain't for good stuff. You know, so I understand. And first of all, just hearing your story. So I want you to take us through the timeline of how you went from, you know, what really got you into being a principal and everything that it took for you to do that.
Well, actually, as a youth, I always knew I wanted to work with young people.
Okay.
So I actually have a degree. My first degree is in psychology. So
your first degree?
Yes, I started out working with youth, kind of moving into the families and the homes through youth villages. So I was in and out of the schools. I was in and out of the homes, working with troubled youth. And just their families on behavior intervention plans and things of that sort. So I was working in a school, and actually the principal was an alternative school. I was actually meeting with a kid regularly there, and he just came up to me one day and he's like, "Hey, you would be a great teacher." And I'm like, So then he hired me. So he hired me. Yep. And I was a special ed teacher, and I worked toward my degree. So I got my master's in special education. So during that, I kind of transitioned schools because being on a transitional license and a permit, you can work in the more rural schools. But as I got my license and everything finalized, I kind of transitioned back to Rutherford County where I grew up. In that, I was a basketball coach and a special ed teacher at the middle school level. So during that, a principal saw me coaching. He's like, "Hey, you would be a good principal."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Oh, maybe I would." So I went to school, got that license to become an administrator, and I actually got a job at Stewart's Creek High School as an assistant principal. Yeah.
Stewart's Creek in the house.
Yep. And then from there, I transitioned to principal at Smyrna Middle School. And then after that, I became the principal last year at LaVergne High School.
Wow. That's great. Oh, I forgot. You a baller too, right?
Yeah, I'm a baller. I was a baller. I still try here and there.
Oh no, Liz, let me tell you now, she can ball. Then she's kind of shy, you know. I appreciate that humbleness in you. I really do. But you know, when people are that humble, that means they just gonna kill you on the court because they don't talk. But man, I remember them days we used to come watch you and Christy and. Would you with Miss Andrea Bell? Did you guys ball with her too?
She may have played in a couple games,
couple of leagues when y'all played back in the day. Oh yeah, trust me, y'all. I'm telling you, she's
gotten old.
Okay, well,
the game. I'm still all right. I'm still decent for my age.
Okay, all right, that's all right. So we're gonna go into. So tell me, what do you love about being a principal? What do you absolutely love about being a principal?
I love the kids, and I know everybody says that, but the Lord has placed me in a position where I've come from a lot of the same background and struggles and different things that they're going through. And I think God has given me just a grace to be able to understand. He's also given me so much patience. So my heart was to help and to counsel and to be that therapeutic person. So I get to do that in this position. So I have kids that are experiencing all kinds of stuff, whether it be anxiety or just, my housing situation, or I don't understand my home life and my mom, or I can't get my ACT score up, or I'm just out here making bad decisions. So I have an opportunity to exercise, just all of those things that I feel like I'm gifted with in this role. So I just love the kids. I love seeing them grow. I love seeing them accomplish and kind of change their mindset,
right,
and mature throughout that 4 years of high school.
Now, when they come in, well, this is just your first year. Well, this will be your second year.
At LaVergne.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the process of that, and that's why I love what I do too, because when you see that, it's not like a light that goes on in their head, but it's almost like when they finally get it, like, I really need to do something with my life. Like, I can't keep doing what I'm doing.
Right.
How do you see that happening around the school? Like, through that, do you see that process happening through the teachers or through what you do, or just the kids helping each other? Or how do you really see those lights coming on?
I'd say a variety of ways, but one thing we focus on at LaVergne is relationships.
Okay.
Because I think in order for us to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish and them to accomplish what we want them to accomplish, they have to first know that we care.
Right.
And
okay.
Everybody says relationships, but that has really gone a long way at our school. And I think everybody there values the relationship piece. So when our kids trust us, I feel like they'll do whatever for us. Most of the most difficult kids, they're like, well, I want to talk to Dr. Hatchett, and I'm still consistent and fair. But they understand that I'm going to listen to them, but I'm also going to tell them what's right. So we strive to, like I said, have a staff who is relationally driven, and including with our peers. We have a very inclusive culture, and kids, they just accept each other. So I think that has helped us just reach the kids that we do reach.
Now, I may be jumping the gun a little bit, because I got like a million questions I want to ask you, but I know I'm not going to get to all of them, because as you're talking, there's certain things that jump out when you're talking. So one of the biggest things that you keep saying over again is relationship. So how do you make sure that all the teachers are on board with building that relationship? Because I know sometimes everybody's not all about building that relationship. Come on, some teachers are just there for the paycheck. Some of them are, not all of them. But how do you make sure that relationship is being built?
I think from the leadership standpoint, making sure that we're intentional about addressing those things, whether it be through professional development, also modeling what we expect. I think they cannot say, if anybody could say anything, they would say, I'm pretty relational with the kids.
Right.
So I model that every day. We make sure we're intentional about that in training and professional development. And I just think it's just been said so many times, and it embodies our culture and just our mission and vision to be relational and address the needs of the whole child. So just seeing that every day, that consistency and having that focus in those areas. And I also think the successes that they see, they can attribute them to the relationships that they've built. So I think word of mouth and continuing that teacher to teacher kind of thing. And the kids, whether it be a senior night or graduation, just the words of expression of gratitude and gratefulness that we get to hear from them. I think it just reiterates it to our teachers that it really matters. Really matter.
Because I know you're great with that, because I've seen you in action. Because my daughter played middle school ball when you was the middle school principal, and how the kids just loved you, coming in on basketball nights, and they just falling all over you. So I know you're a great relationship person. So tell me now, that's the good part about being a principal. Now we're gonna go into some of them struggles. What are some of the struggles of being a principal?
I would say, I took over LaVergne High School during COVID, the first year of COVID. So it's difficult with all of the challenges that COVID has brought along with it, and including, I think, our kids being out of school, coming back, and I think some of the behavior challenges we've experienced, and also just the sickness, making its way around our teachers, and the lack of subs. But if I had to say prior to COVID, I think sometimes the biggest struggle would be teachers not understanding, your staff not understanding, like, your heart or your intentions behind some of the things you do. And then also having to make those tough decisions that are in the best interest of the students, and they're not always in the best interest of the teachers, as far as, they may have to be stretched a little or have to do a little more work. But if this is what we think is what's best for kids, then, that's what we're going to do. Okay.
So now, can I add, now I don't want to sound, you keep tripping about your age, but you're fairly young though, for your profession, right?
I guess. Yeah. 38.
Yeah. You're really young, and you Black, you're a woman. I mean, does that, for me, that's huge. I mean, that's really huge, because you don't see a lot of that, in this area. Oh, well, we're seeing a little bit more of it, but you're like, you like a pioneer, you know what I'm saying? Like, as far as being young, and being driven and the things that you're doing. So I want to back up a little bit. We're going to do a lot of this. So my ADD kind of takes me all over the place. So I want to back up a little bit because I think this is really important for people that are listening. What really drives you to do what you do? Because since I've known you, and I think when did I meet you? Was you a freshman in college?
No, I was out of college.
Were you out of college then?
Probably 2 years out of college.
2 years out. Okay. Cause I know you were still working on some degrees and things like that. But ever since I've known you, you just always been driven. Like you always just been driven. Like you just a go-getter. Like that's what you do. So what really helped you become that type of person?
I would say I was raised by my great grandmother, and she just instilled in us just a work ethic, a strong work ethic. And I always knew I wanted to have a title. Like, I guess the people around me didn't have a title. More so, like, I didn't just want to work at a factory or whatever. I wanted to have whether it be a teacher or not necessarily a doctor or anything like that, but I just knew I wanted to have a title. And I think God has positioned me to be such a hard worker, and it's allowed me to move up. But I also feel like I have, I guess there's a drive in me to pour back into kids that grew up in similar circumstances.
Okay.
And my thing is, I feel like education opened that door for me. So relationships was key. So playing basketball changed the trajectory of my life. And just having coaches who cared, teachers who cared, who poured into me, because I think my life could have been very different had it not have been for me grasping and connecting to my teachers and coaches and the educational piece that pushed me forward. So I want that same thing for our kids. I think they can change any circumstance or do whatever they want if they embrace education.
Wow. I like that. And I think that's really important too. And I think if we saw more of that, not just in our leaders, but just even in the teachers and even in our families, because I know we're going to talk about families in a minute. And so I know those relationships sometimes can be a little bit off, especially with our kids, because they're dealing with so much more. Like, we all keep saying social media. We all keep saying those types of things are pulling our kids away from our families. But how do you really not really ask the kids, but how do you really direct the kids to stay on track with that education, their future, and what's in front of them?
I think just showing them opportunities, also connecting how education can help them achieve their goals. So really figuring out what is it that you want to do. If it's music, whatever it is, you want to go to college, you want to go straight to the career field, but showing them how education is linked to that and how it can help them to excel in those avenues. And I think just making sure that we model what we expect. So celebrating them when they do make those accomplishments or meet those milestones and things of that sort, I think are key. And just pulling them in and making sure they know you care. And that, this actually is going to work for you. If you take on what we're saying and do what we're saying, you're going to be successful.
Cool. So now, since you took over LaVergne, how was I don't know if you can explain it, but how was the culture before you got there versus the culture you're trying to set for the school now? What is there a big difference, or was it pretty much the same? Because we don't want to rag on the last principal, because he had his culture he wanted to set. So I guess we should just ask you, what are you trying to set? What's the culture, the vibe that you're trying to set in the school that everybody kind of understands?
I think, in terms of my staff, I just want it to be an open and transparent place, like where you don't feel like I'm out to get you, and that you understand, like, sometimes I have to make tough decisions, and there are sometimes when I'm going to make mistakes, but I want them to see just a real human person. And I'm not afraid to say when I messed up, and I'm thankful for the position, and I want what's best for the kids. So I want that inclusiveness. I want it to be transparent. I want there to be trust. In terms of the kids, I just want it to be an academic atmosphere, an atmosphere of rigor and challenge, and not just assuming because I see a score or what have you that the kids can't, or low expectations. So a culture of high expectations, and not just preconceived notions about anything based off of paper, records, or anything like that. Because I think with the community, you always hear LaVergne, but it's such great things happening at LaVergne. And I think we have to overcome, honestly, the demographic. So that demographic plays a role in people's perception of us. Because I've been at more than one high school. And the same types of issues and concerns arise regardless of the demographic. So I just want a culture where the kids can see we are valued, and we matter. We do great things at LaVergne. The city of LaVergne is awesome. And I just want them to just embrace that and know that, you matter and our school is great.
Do you think that plays on the kids? Because you're right. When people say LaVergne High School, they're like, "Oh Lord, LaVergne High School." I mean, man, y'all better not be going to LaVergne. Like, like, I mean, seriously though, seriously, you're right. That's how people think of LaVergne. So, do you think that play on the kids a little bit too?
Completely. Definitely. So they definitely are. They hear those things and they compare themselves to the other schools.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the more we can communicate to them that there's no difference,
right?
And we want the public to see us more in the positive light, because there are all kinds of things, like I say, happen at high schools.
Right.
So I definitely think they feel that. And I think it starts also with your athletic programs, being a winning team versus a non-winning team. That plays a role as well.
Right.
But I definitely think they feel it. And I'm working. That is one of my, if not my number one goal, but to change that perception.
Okay.
We do a lot of things. And I think being out in the community more, having our kids go to the elementary schools for their special functions.
Okay.
Our band recently played at the 7-Eleven ribbon cutting, just little things like that. We played at the TSB, like school board association.
Mm-hmm.
So all those things I think are going to help people to see what great things we're doing.
Yeah, because has that been a hard turnaround for you? I know it's only been a year and a half, but has that been a hard turnaround for you to make that happen?
I think it's just I haven't the gauge. No, I think it's going to take some time and some work, but I think we can definitely accomplish it.
Yeah. Because I mean, you're right, and I, just hearing that, and I don't know why it gets such a bad rap. I don't understand it, because you're right. Like, there's stuff happening at every high school,
right?
But it's really weird how that high school has got that stigma attached to it, and so. But I tell y'all what, I'm gonna tell y'all what, Dr. Hatchett, she the right person to get that thing turned around. I'm telling you, she's gonna be the right person. But you really didn't explain to us how you got that position. Did you apply for it, or did schools hear about you and like, we
for
want
LaVergne?
you? Yes, for LaVergne.
Well, the position opened up. I was recently a principal at Smyrna Middle,
right?
And then director, gave me a call about it, and I prayed about it, and I definitely knew it was where I needed to be.
Wow.
So, being a former graduate of LaVergne, I definitely wanted to go back.
Okay.
And I think I knew all along, at some point in my heart, I felt like I would be the principal there. Maybe not as soon,
right?
And during a pandemic, but it just happened sooner than I thought, I guess.
Hey, that's that drive. That's that, because you proved that you're it.
Yeah. So I had prayed over that campus numerous times, just because I felt the Lord was going to put me there at some point. But like I said, I didn't know it was going to be as soon as it occurred.
Wow, that's great. Mm-hmm. So how have you been able to keep your staff and teachers motivated during this pandemic? What's the thing you've been able to do to keep them motivated?
It's, I think just making sure they know that they're heard.
Okay.
And that we see the hard work that they're doing. Trying to send those thank yous when we can and show our appreciation. I think I've bought more food than I've ever bought in my life, in terms of trying to feed them and give them days of appreciation. So that's the biggest thing, because it is hard. I think covering classes, not having a planning period, like all those things are hard for our teachers. But they've definitely been troopers and been a blessing to me and my leadership staff, just definitely willing to pick up the pieces and do whatever we've asked them to do. So.
Oh, well, that's cool. Well, you know what? So did you lose a lot of teachers not during the pandemic, or I'm not saying, that passed away or anything. I mean, did you just lose a lot of teachers? Like, I'm not coming back to the classroom, or did it all pretty much stay the same?
I wouldn't say we lost a lot of teachers. I think this year we've had a struggle to fill some positions and things of that sort, but more so due to COVID and things like that.
Okay. How's the COVID affecting the students?
This year, the biggest thing I think that hurts is when they do have it, missing instructional time.
Okay.
So having to be out or what have you because they're under the weather or sick, taking away that instructional time. So they're missing days of class, which, puts them behind. So we just want to make sure we're keeping them caught up and making sure we're closing those gaps and things that they've missed, and we're remediating and also enriching them so that they're, prepared.
Right. Okay. So now you talked a little bit about you guys getting out in the community and you guys doing some different things. How is LaVergne connecting with the families? Because I know this is probably, maybe, I'm not even going to say a touchy subject, but I know sometimes families are like, they come in sometimes, depending on what's going on, they can be defensive sometimes because of the stigma, and because look, society is the way it is. So how are you guys reconnecting with families that may not were connected at first, and how are y'all making the connection stronger with the families that were a part of LaVergne?
I think communication has been like, them seeing consistency in me,
Okay.
and communicating regularly through our like school messengers and things like that. So making sure they're seeing what I value. I value them knowing what's going on. Also being abreast of academic opportunities, different things that we're doing at the school. So regularly having like a newsletter, communicating with them when report cards and things like that are going home, or when we're having special days, and also asking them to partner with me when we do see some type of behavior and being transparent when those things happen. That's been helpful. With COVID, there's not a whole ton of times where I've brought them in, but we have had, parent informational nights about, say, our early college that we partner with Motlo on.
Okay.
We had a great turnout for that. We have our ParentTeacher Conferences, great turnout for that.
That's good.
So it's been good. And I think them seeing me at the game, seeing me at the different functions and being able to just talk to them.
Right.
Eventually I would like to do more, obviously have some type of parent group that we just kind of sit down and talk about some of the issues. So as COVID kind of moves away, I want to, get the parents in and partner with me and just have those real conversations about some of those things that are happening in the community, in the neighborhoods, and just pull on them as far as ways that we can address those things.
Now, do you have great, because you mentioned like partnering with y'all with some students that may be having a rough time. Do the parents really participate when their child is struggling in school or having hard times in school? When y'all call the parent, do you have really good partnership with them with that?
I would say it's growing into that. I think the perception is that, y'all don't have good parental involvement. But I think as a school, I want to make sure that we're communicating, because I do have a lot of Spanish speaking families, Arabic speaking families. So to me, it falls on us as well, to make sure we're providing, those services where they can access everything we're doing, the communication piece, all of that. So I think both parts, we need to do our part to make sure we're bringing the families in.
Okay. I know, because I like family nights. I mean, I enjoy them. I miss them. I miss them being able to go to the schools, hang out, meet the teachers, and all that kind of stuff. I missed it, because I like to be involved, especially when, you can go in and talk to the teachers about issues and problems, and really have that. Do you have an open door policy, or do you need to make appointments to come see you?
Well, for the most part, you may come and I'm going to be available, but it may be that I'm in another meeting, but I will always meet with the family.
Okay, cool. What's the language you want everybody speaking around LaVergne? Like, what do you have a motto or something that everybody kind of, do you have a theme like everybody kind of run with there?
Not necessarily.
Okay, all right. So so what's been different? I know you mentioned COVID. COVID's been rough for everybody, like in every way, shape, form, or fashion. So what are y'all doing differently since COVID has been here, and what's your plans moving forward with that?
I think a lot of it hit us last year because we did have such low numbers in the building as compared to kids who were doing virtual learning.
Right.
But we definitely do try to social distance as much as we can. We also, the cleaning procedures are still in place.
Right.
We're just mindful of our groups and kind of keeping those groups more consistent, so that kids aren't exposed to other kids as often. So just being intentional about the things that we can control.
Okay.
With the full number in a school, there's only so much you can do, but just like I said, being intentional, and masks are obviously at the choice of the family or the student. So we still have, I would say, about half of our students who still wear masks.
Okay, cool. Now, a lot of people may not know this, but how early does your day start?
My day, it varies, but I would say I usually get to school about 6:30, 6:45.
And they don't start till when? High school.
Officially, we start at 8:30.
And you're there at 6?
But most teachers, if you're bus duty, you're there at 7:45. If you're, not on bus duty, you're there about 8:15.
Okay. So you're there that early. And then when does your day usually end?
That varies as well. I'm usually one of the late nighters, and I like to get everything done before the next day. So I could be there anywhere from 9:30 to 10.
Wow.
Some nights, it just depends. We have a game. It just depends.
Yeah. You putting in them hours. See what I'm saying? I mean, just go get, and everybody's not that passionate, because you do have some principal that just like the position, but then you have those that are like you, that are really passionate about the position, really want to make a difference, and you really put in that work. So I'm going to say I appreciate it. You sure you don't, Okay, I'm gonna say it. All right. So how do you feel the school is helping our youth? Because I don't know. Do you hear this a lot? Because I hear this a lot. A lot of kids tell me, they don't like school anymore. They don't want to go to school anymore. They think it's a waste of time. How is the school helping our youth as far as seeing the purpose of school and the vision of it?
I think school is a place to help them get connected and to find their passion,
Mhm.
and to connect their passions and their goals with education. So I think, and we're very diverse at our school. So I think them embracing other cultures and other types of things that are going on in the world, that it's exposing them to that, but also letting them see how education is the way. So I think we do a good job of that, and that's just through my staff.
Right.
And just the expectations that we set as an administration.
And you've mentioned that a couple of times too. You have so many different cultures at the school. How are you able to have all these cultures that's in the school still work together? Are there issues and problems with that sometimes? With different beliefs and what we do versus what others do, and how we think versus how does the cultures blend, or they kind of clash every now and then?
Honestly, by the grace of God, since I've been there, it's been so awesome. Like, the
Okay.
kids get along. They are very accepting. We're very transient.
Okay.
So kids come and go often, but I think they have a good understanding of one another. And it's been great. Those are not been issues that we've had to deal with. And I'm thankful for that. And I pray that it continues to go in that direction.
But has that been a challenge as a school, with the different laws and what can happen, what can't happen? Has that been a challenge at all, trying to finagle around all these different rules and things like that you can and can't do?
I would say no.
Okay.
And I guess, can you, I guess, explain that a little more?
Well, you have the Christmas versus holiday versus, prayer, not prayer, things like, what we can eat, can't eat, so things like that.
No, and we try to make those things student led and keep
Okay.
our opinions, the staff's opinions out. We stick to the standards in terms of educational or anything we're trying to teach the students, sticking to the state standards.
Okay.
And making sure we're not trying to put our beliefs on the kids, but the students have the ability to create clubs and different groups that are student led.
Okay.
With adult overseer, but we try to make sure that anything like that they have the avenue to express themselves, but it's not like influenced by us.
Okay. Cool. Now, does your staff and teachers have a great bond with each other?
I would say so. Yep, we do. I think so. And I walked into that, and I think I can be more intentional about creating those things. So, like, beginning of the year, we went bowling. We tried to do like a fun scavenger hunt, and I mix them up with different people. Although you might initially be like, "Oh, we don't want to do this,"
right?
But
right.
I think they ended up having a great time. So I think that's a good way to start off the year, and kind of doing those things throughout the year,
right?
To get them communicating with other people, because it's quite possible you could have a high school and you could be on one end and not even know that somebody's on the other end,
right?
Because they're not a part of your department. You don't see them. So just kind of figuring out ways that we can bring them together. I think COVID makes it somewhat challenging to do those things, but we tried to throw in some of those activities throughout the last 2 years.
And those activities, now those are things that you think of, or they just activities
that would be from administration standpoint. Thinking of, I have very talented admin that think of things. So maybe doing a trivia night we've done for Christmas party, or like I said, bowling, scavenger hunt, things like that. Having faculty meetings actually in person and trying to celebrate teachers in front of their peers. Things
that's
like that.
good. That's good. That's good. So when next time you feed, just call me. Just let me know you need me to serve something.
Yes, anytime. You can come anytime.
So what does it look like as far as bringing in, I know as far as, I don't know, I want to say mentors or anything like that. So what does it look like? Did y'all have any kind of outside programming before COVID? And then are y'all looking for things to kind of do after COVID?
We had AKA partnered with us, kind of like a mentoring program for our girls. There are obviously a lot of things I want to do for our boys.
Right.
But with COVID, there has been some restrictions and limitations. We actually do Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and we partner with some of the elementary school students.
Okay.
That is actually my kids partnering, but I would love to partner and figure out, making sure I follow the proper procedures and paperwork, but figuring out a mentoring program for our young men. I think would be, and even our young ladies as well. But I have more ability to do that in-house with my staff, because we obviously have more women, I think.
Okay.
But it would be great to partner and figure out some type of mentoring program for our young men.
So in other words, you're looking for more male teachers?
More male teachers, yes.
Yes. Y'all hear that? We need more male teachers out there, man. We need, we can be out there on the forefront with that. All right. So what do you see going on in our youth and and the schools that's good and bad? What do you see going on in our schools with our youth that's good and bad?
In terms of academics or just in general?
Both.
Okay. I think we're very intentional about what we're teaching, and I think we want to set high expectations. So I think that's great. Like, and
Yes.
not just we're meeting our kids where they are, but we're doing everything we can to push them to the next level. So we're
Okay.
not just looking at did you meet the achievement mark, but did I actually take you from where you were?
Right.
So just being intentional about making sure we're teaching and we're setting those high expectations and actually holding to those high expectations all the time. And I think we're doing a good job of making sure we have options for our kids and that we're not just saying everybody go the college route. So
Right.
we're looking
Okay.
at career and technical. We're looking at just going straight out into the work field. But to me, my goal would be that every student who leaves LaVergne has a plan. So whether that be
Okay.
you're going straight into work, we're partnering with these different agencies and companies, or you're going to a technical school, or you're going to, traditional college. So I think we do a good job of providing those services. And in
Okay.
addition, I think also just being able to help them with their financial aid, helping them with Tennessee Promise, all of those things. Like, I feel like if you threw that on a parent, like they just don't have that information or that
Right.
knowledge. So I think we do a good job of making sure that if they, whatever their pathway is or what they want to do, connecting them with those things so that they can be successful. And you say, well, what do we do bad?
Yeah. Well, I don't want it to be like what's LaVergne doing good and LaVergne doing bad. But I mean, you're a principal, you're in the system, so you're dealing with a lot of schools, not just your schools, but you see a lot that's going on. So good and bad as far as where are we missing it with our kids sometimes, or just how are the kids not responding the way we would like to see them respond in the school system?
I think it starts out with not catching some of those learning gaps early. We definitely do a good job of response to intervention. So
Okay.
so I think just embracing that fully. But I think oftentimes you may have kids who come to high school that are still struggling. So being able to catch those learning gaps early and
Okay.
address them. In addition, there's a ton of mental health issues, like
Right.
students who are just experiencing mental health issues. So just being able to make sure we provide those things for our kids, because I think if their basic needs are being met, or if they're having a mental health crisis or things of that sort, they can't access education.
Right.
So I feel that, making sure we're intentional about that. And obviously that means resources have to be in place to make those things happen. So we are moving in that direction. So we have
Okay.
some things going on that I think are addressing some of those needs.
Here's a point I would like for you to address this, and this may be just your personal opinion, but I know because you've been in the role from middle school to high school. What do you see, or how do you see the kids changing from middle school to high school? What are some of the things that you've seen? Because you've seen them on the middle school level, you've seen what they go through, you see the transition from elementary school to middle school, how it's different. What have you really seen in our kids that may help us as parents as our kids transition from middle school to high school?
I think in the middle school setting, they don't know who they are.
Okay.
They're looking for a lot of approval from their peers. So
That's
they're
good.
kind of experimenting with things. They're taking on the identities of their friends,
Okay.
and they want to fit in.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's the biggest thing I see. And I think also they don't get the connection of education, like, and how it can really actually help me be successful. So I think they're just really followers.
Okay.
So in high school, I don't see that. I see that you kind of have established where you are, and this is my friend group. I don't have to impress them. I mean, I'm going to be who I am in this group. And at our school, I feel like everybody has their different things, different groups, and everybody's cool with that.
Right.
So you're not competing for peers' approval as much. And I think you also get it. My freshmen are still a little immature at times, but I'd say sophomore up, they kind of get it. They get it, even if they make a mistake in terms of if they get into a fight or got caught with something they shouldn't have had. I just think they make a better connection of this is not the life I want, and they can actually hear us as adults.
Okay. Okay.
And they see it more on an adult standpoint, like in the eyes of an adult.
Now, and I love that point, because that you spot on. Like, you've been doing some research, had you? Boy, you've been doing some stuff. Nah, just life experiences
from these kids.
So I know, and I'm praying that we're having some parents that are listening to this. What would be your advice for middle school parents that have kids that are in that zone you just mentioned, where they're trying to find out who they are, but parents are saying, these things is what we've taught you, but now you're taking on what would be some advice you would give to a parent?
It's funny you asked this. I have a friend and she's always asking me, because their son's in 7th grade. And this is the thing. I think you have to stand strong on what you've taught them.
Okay.
And I also believe you have to be involved, and not necessarily you don't have privacy, but the child is a child.
Right.
So I would look at their cell phones, because we see a lot of different things on these phones. I would definitely have some type of monitoring on their phone, but continuing to take them back to the word. Like, this is what God's word says about this. You can't be sending those messages. This is not godly. Like, and sometimes you have to tell them to cut off friendships and relationships, but they have to see the consistencies from your end,
right,
and that you're going to be on top of those things, and just explaining to them, like, this is the reasoning behind it, but also letting them see, like, have conversations with you. Because I think they're going through identity crises, in terms of even like gender roles and things of that sort. But I think you have to stand firm on what you believe and help them to understand, you can come to me with these things, but these things are not of God. And, this is what the Bible says. And at the end of the day, when you're 18, you obviously are going to make your own decisions.
Exactly.
But while you're in my house, we're going to make sure we guide you and put you in the right position. So if it means you're going to be somewhere else, you're going to be somewhere else. Like, that's kind of how I feel about it. And I think partnering with the principals and the teachers, there's only so much we can do in terms of legally, when it comes to some of those things, but making sure that they know that we're all on the same page and what the expectation is.
And I guess you kind of answered my next question was going to be, how is the school capable of doing that? Like, if a mom or a dad or a family is struggling with those types of things and they come to the school for help, are y'all equipped? I don't know. Are y'all equipped to help families on that level, or do y'all try to send them somewhere or recommend places for them to go?
It's kind of sticky at times. I would more so recommend or provide literature. I wouldn't want to get into my opinions on things or my beliefs with the family, but if it comes to a crime or something like that, then I'm definitely more involved in terms of that. And I'm willing to do whatever. So if I see something on social media, I'm the first one that's going to call that parent and say, hey, this is what I have. It's not anything that I can do in terms of the school, but I want you to know this. So when it comes to crime or activity outside of school that I'm aware of, I'm definitely on top of it. When it comes to some of those things, as far as preferences and sexual orientation, I will probably more so provide literature, just make sure they're safe while at school and there's nothing happening at school. But that's to the extent that I would go. Just to avoid any kind of legal issues or things like that.
Last question, as far as professionalism. Is that how you say that? Okay, cool. What story would you like your students and families to tell after attending your school?
Okay. Well, I would want them to say, I went to a school where I knew the principal. I talked to her often, and I understood like her vision for me. That I had great relationships with not only the principal, but with all my teachers. I loved my teachers. And my teachers cared about me. And also it was a school where it was hard. We had to, the expectations were high. So the work was not easy. They pushed us and we grew. And I want them to have pride in the school. And I want them to be kids that would want to come back and even pour into the kids that we have at that time once they're adults. So just a place where they can look back on and say, those people cared about me and those people helped me to get where I am today.
Cool. That's exciting. And you putting that to play too.
Yeah.
You're putting it to work. Okay. Now these final questions are going to be about you personally. So you ready for them?
Kind of. Yeah. I guess.
No, they're not hard questions. I mean, they're really simple. So who do you look up to for inspiration and mentorship? Who do you look up to?
I was hoping you didn't ask that one.
Why? Why? That's the number one question. Like,
I don't have a person. Like, I guess just the people around me. My colleague. I don't have a good answer, but I guess the people, like I said, I've had a lot of people impact my life through education. So I just looking at, I have other principal colleagues that I think do a great job and I learn from them very often. So the principal at Holloway High School, Blackman High School. I was Dr. Harrell was my principal prior to. So just looking at those people.
Now you didn't go into this that deep. You kind of skimmed over the sports thing. you did talk about, did you get a scholarship for basketball? Right.
Mm-hmm.
What school did you go to?
I started out with a scholarship to Motlow State Community College in Tullahoma, and then from there I got a scholarship to play at Maryville College.
Is that where you graduated from, Maryville College? Okay, so what did that experience playing ball, did that help you with the things that you do now, the way with some of the way you think and some of the way you do things?
For sure. So I think every kid should play a sport because you learn so much about life and how to be on a team and your role on the team, and that you're not always a superstar and there's a role for you, but you also should be able to give 100% no matter what your role is. Right. So I think that taught me that, but also managing a sport and schoolwork at the same time, trying to figure out life. That helped me to balance and just to understand how to make things happen. Right. So I attribute anything I've done to those experiences.
Do you see sports changing a little bit since you played, and how things are operating, especially on I'm gonna just stop it at the high school level? Do you see it differently?
Yeah, I think kids have so many other things that are pulling them in different directions. So it's not like when we were kids, everybody wanted to be on the teams, and there wasn't a lot of competing things like in terms of the media and social, so we were more into the sports. Now it's kind of like you're competing with so many things, and they're not as committed as a whole. Just, that's hitting some of our kids. But.
Right. Or everybody want to be, Odell Beckham, or they just want to make the highlight reel. They just...
So you don't have that work ethic sometimes, and, the defense, if you want to say, like, because you get the fame from the offense. So.
That's right. Y'all
see that, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Okay. What is the most important risk you took and why?
As far as career, in terms of my career,
we ain't gonna narrow it down. You could be either way. You could say, I took the bungee jump. I took a bungee jump off the bridge because I knew this would help me with my fears and all that. Or it could be,
I'm not really a risk taker.
Oh, really? You're not?
No, I don't.
You keep it safe and everything.
Pretty much. I don't do too much in terms of risks. I just
really.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you honestly. I got in the pool. I don't know. And I don't know how to swim. I mean, that's
we do that all the time anyway.
So I don't, but that would be a risk for me. But no, I can't.
Come on, I mean, come on. I mean, I know you kind of laid back, but I mean, you've never done anything. No, you just keep it to the plate. Completely. Okay, we have to work on that. We have to get you to do something. Okay, how do you? So, what is the most memorable lesson you've learned in life? What is the most memorable lesson you've learned in life?
I would say, I don't know. I think working hard and pushing through the tough times. I guess I've learned that it's not always going to be easy. Walking into different schools in the past, it's kind of like been easy. It's been a way more challenging experience at LaVergne. And, I've learned that everything's not going to be perfect. And I'm not going to make everybody happy. And everybody's not going to just love me. So the Lord is showing me that that is okay. And he's growing me in this time. So,
okay. So how do you continue to grow and develop as a leader? How do you continue to grow?
I think being reflective is a big thing, and also listening and knowing when I can say, hey, I messed up, or you're right, I shouldn't have did that, and not letting my pride get in the way. So I think just having that practice of reflectiveness. Also trying to, continue to read and look at the literature about just different things I can do differently. When I see an issue, making sure I'm reaching out to those people that I think are experts in those areas. And I think, like I said, the biggest thing I think is just listening and trying to make adjustments so that I'm meeting the needs of everybody.
And I know you keep talking about the experiences in life and how you said your great grandmother, right, that raised you and what she's instilled in you. But you keep saying this over and over. And I don't even know if you keep saying this over and over, that you don't mind telling people when you're wrong and when you've made a mistake. And tell me how you're able to do that, because so many people are not willing to do that. Like, they're just not willing to do that. So do you just do that with the students, or do you do that with your staff, or you do that with families, or you just do that anytime? Like, all the time. What
I think it's important with the kids, because I've made mistakes. Recently I had called the kid in. We had the wrong kid. And he's like, I did not take the phone. I haven't even had Tommy's phone, whatever. I'm like, I was being extra, like I
Right.
would say. And he's like, I don't even know what you're talking. I'm like, how do you not know what I'm talking about? Like,
Right.
so it
Right.
turns out it was the wrong kid. And I'm like, I called him back in. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. I'm like, adults make mistakes too. I
Right.
appreciate you being respectful. And I gave him like a whole bunch of snacks and stuff
Right.
because I just felt terrible. But
Hey,
also,
snacks are good now.
yeah, and I think he can appreciate that we just
Right.
said, hey, we messed up.
Right.
And it wasn't you. And I appreciate you being consistent with your story, even though, I was probing you. So that was one experience. But even with my adults, and I'd say, we may make a decision as a school and it may be the worst decision, whether it be like our schedule or how we're going to do things for lunch or, when we're like, man, this was an epic fail. We shouldn't have, we need to go back to the drawing board and try to figure it out because this was not a good decision. Or even like, hey, I said no to something, and somebody comes back to me like, well, have you thought about it this way?
Right.
And being able to go back and look at that and say, well, I think I'm open to this. So I think just having a practice of humbleness and knowing that the Lord has placed me somewhere, and I'm thankful.
Yeah.
So I always want people to see like just Christ in me. So I think if Christ is in me, I should be able to say when I'm wrong or admit, things like that.
Then do you think that helps you with your leadership? Do you think that brings on more, I wouldn't say the word respect, but you think that brings on a different look or a different vibe with you when you're able to do that and people see the genuineness in it? Like it ain't just like, I'm sorry, but they can see that you're genuine about that. Do you think that helps with your leadership?
I think it's a mixture because some days I'm like, did I lose respect from this? Like, it's hard to say at this point, but I think it's what's right. So
what's right? Okay.
I will continue to be that way. And like I said, I want people to work for me and to feel like they're in an environment where they can bring concerns up in a respectful way.
Right.
And that I will listen. And I may not make the decision you want me to make, but I always want to hear you.
Right.
And I want them to know that I'm going to try to do what's right by you and right by obviously our students and myself.
Okay. How have you aligned the school with your vision and mission? How have you done that?
My vision is, I feel like we should address the needs of the whole child.
Okay.
And I think a big thing for me, from my experience, is to connect them, like see the connection of education and lifelong success or opportunities.
Okay.
So that's what I instill in my staff that I value. So I want to make sure that I'm modeling those expectations. So not just meeting the whole needs of the child, but even the staff. So, making sure they understand that from me directly, but also making sure our actions align and everything that we're doing aligns with that vision. So how we're creating that schedule. Are we offering times for those interactions? Are we celebrating their successes? Are we showing them opportunities of how to get to different colleges and scholarships and things of that sort? So everything we do should be intentionally geared toward what I expect.
Now, you mentioned this earlier, but you didn't go deep. Can you go a little bit deeper about who do you partner with in the community as far as their education and getting them to the next level? And is there a reason why you pick these particular businesses and organizations?
When you say partnering, you mean as far as businesses or?
Well, I know you mentioned a little bit about doing something with Motlow.
So Motlow, we have a great program, which is last year I had 35 students graduate with not only their high school diploma, but with their Associate of Science degree. So now we have a true early college at LaVergne. So junior, sophomore year, my kids actually are at Motlow full time. They come to school, we drive them over. They're there pretty much the whole day. We drive them back, but they will graduate with both degrees. So that's an awesome thing that Rutherford County has allowed us to be able to do, as well as Motlow. So that's, I think, changing the perception of LaVergne as well. So that's probably one of the best programs we offer. And I'm so thankful for that. And I think more and more kids are going to be a part of that. So to me, those kids are already exposed to college and they're walking into college as juniors, basically. And they're a step ahead of their peers and they're going to be successful. So that's one great thing we do when we partner with Motlow. But as far as the businesses and things, we kind of partner. We're transitioning into doing more of that stuff, but local businesses have called us about specific students in certain programs like IT. I have 3 jobs for this type of student. Or, hey, we need you guys to come out and do a performance for us. Or I recently spoke at the city's 50th anniversary, LaVergne becoming a city, I guess. But I spoke there with the mayor. His wife actually works at our school. So
cool.
All those kinds of things.
Okay. So let me hurry up and narrow this thing down because I could talk to you all day long because you just have so much knowledge and information because you love what you do. So I can really see that. So what do you feel? And you kind of mentioned this briefly. What can parents do with youth that are struggling in school?
I think the first thing is partnering with the teachers and the school itself. So making the teachers, and obviously we're going to already know that. So we're going to reach out to you, but making sure you're involved, coming to those parent teacher conferences, checking their, we have we have our information system. It leaves me now. But
Talking about the Skyward thing?
Skyward, thank you. Skyward. So making sure you're looking at their Skyward regularly.
Right.
And when you see some drop or what have you, making sure you email the teacher.
Okay.
But also teaching your child to advocate for themselves. Like, hey, you have 3 zeros. You need to come home tomorrow, and I need to know where this work is or what's missing. At any time, parents can call and have a conference, whether it be, I want to meet with you next week. We always want to partner with the teachers, with the parents.
Right.
Also, I mean, if you have to get a tutor, we want to try to provide those options. We do have after school, before school options at some schools. And then we also have like a remediation period.
Okay.
So all of those things.
Cool. And I'm sure you have a ton of these. I know you do. But what is one of your best stories you have in the walls of that school?
I actually have one recently, and I'll make this brief. But I had a student, I actually walked down the hallway and I saw a teardrop on his eye. So we all know what we think that means,
right?
That, some gang activity. But I had a lady that just been praying at the school, and she partnered with me. She came in one Saturday. We prayed over my office and all of that, but she prayed specifically over the chairs and the students who would sit in those chairs. And it turns out that Monday morning, this student sat in that chair, and we had the best conversation. And he was very open about being in a gang, and we had a great conversation. Like, I just love the kid, but he was not a problem student at school. So some months later, he had got into some trouble. This was last year, and he ended up going to jail. He was like in Idaho, stole a car, all kinds of stuff. Either way it goes, he came back this year, and he ended up telling me he's changed his life. He ended up at my church. I have no idea how.
Wow.
And he gave his life to the Lord. He's actually getting baptized tomorrow.
What?
And I've been able to partner him with another kid that was on the same path, and he's ministering to him. I'm not telling him to do this, but this other young man, I actually just suspended him, but he's changed his life. He came back and made amends with me.
Wow.
And the person that he had an issue with, and I just see the Lord moving and working. And if that's the only thing I ever do or accomplish here, then I feel like I'm satisfied.
Amen.
So, yeah.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And I know that comes through all the work that you're doing and all the praying that you guys are doing, and how you really how you love these kids. Like, you really love them, and you want to see more than just the education piece, because like you said, some of these kids are not going to go to college. Some of these kids don't really want the big things. They just want to be either better fathers or better husbands, moms, and things like that. And so I can really see, just listening to you, that that's your passion. Like, whatever you want to do, I want to help you do that the best way that I can. Favorite scripture?
Definitely Proverbs 3:5-7.
Okay.
So trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. That's my paraphrase version.
Right.
But I think that scripture guides my life. So because
right.
I wouldn't have thought I'd be where I am today.
Right.
But the Lord, I've trusted him, and I think he's continuing to put circumstances and situations in my life to allow me to trust him even more. But I know he's directing my path, and I will go wherever he leads me.
Wow. Exciting. Last thing. What do you want people to know about LaVergne High School? What you want to leave people with?
LaVergne is just a great place, and I would not trade it for anything. And, we do have kids that do things outside of school. My prayer is that I not only address it in the school, but I also affect them to the point where I can address it outside of the school. But we have a great group of kids. It's no different than any other school. Yes, we do have kids who do things they shouldn't do.
Right.
But we have a great group of kids, and that's what I love about my job. And I'm thankful for the adults that work there, a great staff that loves our kids, and they're in it for the right reasons. So I'm thankful for them, and I just think LaVergne is awesome. So the more opportunities people have to get in the school, I think they kind of see what I see. So
right.
Great school.
Great school. Well, and you're making it greater. So with all the good things you're doing. So I appreciate you, Dr. Hatchett. Thank you for coming into the 11th hour and talking about LaVergne High School, our youth. Education is still important. I mean,
Definitely.
It's still important. And that's one of the things I try to instill in my kids, is that education is one thing that people can't take from you. And so the more educated you get, the better off it is. I enjoy, now me personally, I enjoy Malcolm X, because the way he push education and knowledge and know about not only yourself, but how you can make yourself better. And there were some other men that did that too, but I just love his passion for that. And you just seem to have that passion for our kids. And listen, parents, these are type of principles we need. Like, she is very motivated and I just love what she does. And I appreciate everything that she's doing in the community. All right, that's it, y'all. This is the 11th hour with your boy, Pastor Mike. Remember I said, make movements, not just moments. And remember, you can always go check us out on our website, the Nicholas Foundation Borough.org, or hit us up on social media, Facebook, and all those great things. Hey, this is all I got. This is your boy, Pastor Mike, aka 90s number 5, the Michael Davis, and I'm out. Peace.